rookie draft. With me today, I've got Gus Skibbe from the Royals, and I got Bryan Benware from the Astros. And we're excited today to do this draft because this is a new day and a totally new season for our players. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to be a good draft. I think there's a lot of good players in the pot. So it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see where people land.
Yeah, I think with the addition of the out-of-town rule, too, that's going to throw another loop into any rookies that are coming in with the Diamondbacks. But I think there were some surprises that were registered this year, and I'm really looking forward to see what this class brings to the league this year.
Yeah, and usually, every season we're kind of wondering who's going to be that rookie of the year, who's going to be that player that uplifts their team from maybe a team last year that maybe wasn't in a playoff spot and moves them into playoff contention. We've got a long list of players this year that registered, and we have a lot of openings. You two together have, with the Royals and the Astros, have a combined 7 draft picks. So there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of picks going on. Bryan, I just want to ask you, everyone's probably aware you kind of had a shuffle in your roster. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for going into this draft for your team?
I'm looking again, digging into the well to try to find a core of players to keep building this thing on. I've been lucky, and actually lucky is the wrong word. I've been good at drafting rookies. In fact, Rookie of the Year reigning the past 2 years. So I think it shows finding some talent and bringing some guys in that really not only make a substantial impact to that year, but also for the future. The hope is that we can continue to build off of what we draft this year and move forward with it, though.
Some people say they'd rather be lucky than good, but for you, on the other hand, we'll see how that plays out for you.
Yeah.
The 2019 SWBL Draft is brought to you by
The Corner Pub and Grill, host of the SWBL Friday night festivities. The Ketting Associates, the newest division sponsors. Cardinal Blinds and Shutters. And Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.
Now, last year we had a few breakout stars. On the Astros, we had Stephen Farkas. We had Chris Overlord, who only got to play half season but still had a pretty good year. We had Gallicados on the A's. We had a couple of players. Would you like to talk about a little bit about how much of an impact rookies had for your team last year, Bryan?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the top 3 in the rookie voting, Stephen Farkas, of course, won the award. And then Mike Boyles, who was a very substantial player for the Royals team, and Gus. And then Chris Overlord, like you said, came in, played half the season for us, but really made a big impact in our lineup. Had multiple games where went 4 for 4, 5 for 5, and really ended up coming in and having the best average for our team, even though he only played half the games. So I don't know how much that says so much about Chris and how bad we were at the plate at times, but these guys can really make a big difference on their team even in their first year.
And that just goes to show how important this night is for all these prospective teams, how big of an impact one player can make for your team. In years past, on my team, for example, we had Flackney that we drafted, and he made a huge impact and later played for the Royals. And Gus, I wanted to talk to you about, you guys have an open spot on your team, and I was just curious, what are you all looking for tonight in that last player that can kind of fill that void?
We have my brother, and we have my father, and we're trying to get more people that we might know, not so much from the national scene, but more from a local standpoint, and people that have always been a part of our lives and have wanted to join the league, and we think it'll be a good opportunity for most of them to join. So some of these people on the list, most people in our league will recognize. I think it'll be a cool thing to have them a part of it.
So a potluck of players. I guess you could say this draft's kind of like a Thanksgiving dinner. And with that, the Diamondbacks are on the clock. And actually, they just made their first selection very quickly. And it looks like Caleb Yonkman is the first pick of the 2019 SWBL draft. First thoughts, guys. What do you think about Caleb Yonkman?
Caleb,
cool last name. That's all I know.
Of course, Caleb Yonkman is probably one of the best wiffleball players of this era right now. He is the NWLA National Player of the Year 2 years ago, and he probably could have won it again last year had Regis Pollard not had a great year for OCWA, but he was nominated again to win National Player of the Year. He's a threat on both sides of the ball, a lefty swing, and he can crush the ball. He got second place in the NWA tournament last year. He is Mr. Indiana when it comes to wiffle ball, and he's a great guy. So it'll be exciting to see him come out to the SWBL this year.
Bryan, I know you've had some lefties on your team throughout the year. How do you think that Caleb's going to handle that big green monster of a wall we have in right field this year.
Well, the better players seem to always hit around it or hit just through it. Chris has had consistent success in this league, but even Flackney is a great example. He was able to really turn on it and either drive it down the line or put it right in that gap and go around it. And if he's athletic enough, even if he hits the tree, maybe he gets a triple out of it. So.
Okay. And just so everybody's aware at home, we have a new rule this year where the Diamondbacks are considered our out-of-town team, so they have actually first selection on any out-of-town player that they'd like, and it's just kind of a way for us to keep teams more balanced in our league. So they're actually on the clock again, and their second pick for this year's draft is Jay Zimmerman, coming out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Gus, do you know anything about Jay Zimmerman?
Jay is kind of the MVP standard when it comes to the Minnesota Wiffleball Association. Trent has a lot of great things to say about Jay, and I'm sure he's going to be a nice addition to the offense that they do need. I think with Austin, his brother, coming back for the mound, along with Devin Nelson and Matt Peisert, and even Caleb on the mound for them, they're going to bolster their pitching staff, but then also Jay will add that offensive piece to them. So I think it's a good selection and a good pick for the Minnesota native team.
Yeah, and with Jimmy Cole kind of being a question mark, there's
Yes.
really not much known of what's going on there. I guess drafting as much depth as you can just really won't hurt at all. So
He's on the roster.
He's on the roster.
But
I guess
probably won't
we'll
show up this year with some things, but maybe next year.
we will have to see. So, and actually, the third pick just coming in from the Astros, which is Bryan's team. It looks like Cameron Smith will be the first all-over pick for your all's team. I would like to kick it to you and see what your thoughts are on Cameron.
Yeah, it's just an outstanding pick. Just really great value at that third overall pick. Cameron's a guy who has some familiarity with some of our players in the league, having played. What's that league?
He played in the Sports Barn tournament, and he was the best pitcher at the Sports Barn tournament. So he's going to bring a lot of pitching depth
Yeah,
to the Astros.
he's going to be the leader of our rotation. He's going to be my ace, and he knows that. And he's excited about the challenge, as well as some experience at the plate again. Always having to find that depth there and find that right mix of the top four players for your lineup. So that's what we're really looking for him to bring. So.
Yeah, my scouting notes says plays as a field general, plays bigger than he is, and is just an outstanding player to have on your team. So sounds like Cameron Smith is a solid selection.
Overall good pick.
Overall spot. And with that in mind, the Brewers are on the clock. And let's talk about the Brewers real quick. They're one of those teams that they're always on the cusp of doing something great, and they're always kind of just sitting there at the in that wild card spot, kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Gus, let me ask you, if there was one thing that they could improve on to get them over the hump, what do you think that one thing would be?
And there needs to be some sort of change, and I think they've been the same for so many years that there needs to be some sort of change, some sort of person to come in and just revitalize them as a team. And maybe this draft, maybe this pick that they're going to make is going to do that.
No, let's not count out Jimmy. He really brought another element to their team last year and even the year prior when he was a rookie. And I think the more playing time he slowly gets, that's going to maybe change a little bit of that dynamic from the three-headed monster that we've seen in the past few years.
And actually, this just in, looks like, to our surprise, the better of the two Cornell brothers was just drafted by the Brewers. Derek Cornell is now a Brewer. Peter bringing him along on board. Maybe that is the spark that they needed all along.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
And Derek's had some experience in the league. He was a sub back in the day. I think it's been 8 or 9 years since he's been playing, but he has experience. He played at college baseball as well, and so it's going to be fun to see him back out on the
I
mound.
heard he played through a torn labrum for a whole season once.
Yeah, I think in high school he played through a torn labrum, and he sounds like he's a pretty solid ball player. Don't know much about him, but he's back. He's kind of the newspaper
another brother.
Yeah.
That's right, he's back. So with that being said, the Royals are on the clock, and I know Gus, you remember the Royals, but I'd like to talk to Bryan. Now, if you could, say where's one spot that the Royals could really improve in this draft? We know that they got the Skibbies, we know they got Ty. Every year, that fourth player is kind of like a revolving door, and they're just looking for that. I don't even know if that fourth player is the reason why they win or lose, but they're just looking for something that gets them over the hump. What do you think that should be their focus with this pick?
I think that, that 10-0 year when they had Flackney, it was Flackney, right? Yeah, Flackney. He was a consistent fourth hitter, and he didn't have the ups and downs at each plate. Mike Boyles was great, but he had some struggles at times just adjusting to our field, adjusting to our league and our pitchers. And when they have that fourth guy that they know is going to be consistent every time, they can really lock into where they feel and not maybe mess with their lineup as much. I think that they do a great job of putting who's hot in the right spots in their lineup, but I think these guys more often like to stick with the same routine, and when they're in that routine and that consistency, they play a lot better.
Gus, would you agree with that?
Sure.
All right. And their pick actually just came in, and it looks like a huge reach here. We had him projected as a 5th-round pick, but Corey McCarthy selected in the 1st round by the Royals. Gus, you want to talk about Corey real quick?
Yeah, Corey, he's been trying to get into the league. People have been trying to get him into the league for many years now. And finally he's free, he's available this weekend, so we're excited to see what he can bring to the diamond.
Is this a gun against the head, like forcing the league type thing, or does he actually want to play? It's kind of hard to tell.
It is, and he's kind of up in the air, and you never know if he's all in or if he's kind of just going to be there for a few games. So we'll see what happens.
Corey's family, if you're watching, make sure you pack some sunscreen. I would hate for that frail skin to get burnt that weekend. It's a long weekend, and he's going to need some sunscreen. So, anyways, my team's on the clock, and the Twins. And there's a player that I'm just going to talk firsthand because I know who we're going to take here. There's a really special player in our hearts that just kind of, we describe him as the heart of the Twins. He's the heart of the Phillies at one point. Now he's the heart of the Twins. And Mike Durstein will be our selection. He is a warrior. He's fast. If we ever need a pinch runner, he's got grit, and he's just got a lot of heart. And anyways, that's our pick. So we're going to move past that. And the Astros are on the clock again. And before we get back to the Astros, you all took Cameron Smith with your first pick. Sounds like he's pitcher, hitter, kind of all-around player. You got a lot of shoes to fill. What other look are you all looking for with this next pick?
So, obviously we've got Cameron on the mound, but I need that second pitcher, and I'm not really sure where it's going to come from. So at this point, there's going to be a bit of a spring training to see if anybody else has what it takes to be that number 2 guy. But we're looking for another bat in the lineup, another athletic player, somebody who can play right field, maybe before Chris gets there, because again, he's not going to be there until Sunday. So we are going to have to fill the void of him not being there for the first few games. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this next pick is going to be bringing to the team, because I do think that he will be able to help fill that void.
And it looks like your all's picks in. I'm sure you already know who you're taking, but we just found out. Keaton Adams. Tell us about Keaton.
I haven't actually spoken with Keaton, but I have talked with the Foley's, and they're a great resource for talent. They keep finding people that fill in at the league, and I really trust their judgment. He's their roommate, and he's been wanting to get into the league even since, I think, 2 years ago. They had brought his name up to me, but because of the roster size we had, we just didn't have enough space to get enough playing time for everybody. But this year, we went ahead and pulled the trigger, and we are really excited about having him.
Sounds like you guys have invested a lot in your sabermetrics department. This sounds like one of those picks where the analytics just kind of spoke to you.
Yeah.
You see it on paper, you don't have to meet him.
100%.
Yeah, I understand totally. So with that pick, the Royals on the clock, and I like how quickly this is moving because their pick's in too. Wouldn't believe it. Leon Cherry, the next pick in the draft. And Gus, tell me, he's a relative of a former player in our league.
He is.
Right?
Tyler Flackney. It's his cousin, actually.
All right.
He actually went to school with Ty Butler and I and you in Missouri State, and he played with us once on the fields at Missouri State, and he was just smoking the ball. And so we asked him, hey, any interest in coming out? And he said he might come out for maybe a day or two this weekend, or on Memorial Day weekend. So we'll see if he makes it out. But we're kind of up in the air with if he's going to come or not.
So maybe it's a family thing. Maybe it's not. We'll find out. The Astros are back on the clock, and it looks like your pick's in as well. Matt
Pay.
Matt Pay.
Yeah.
What do we know about him?
Matt is a guy, one of Jeremy's friends. Big bat. He's going to be more of a role player, a guy kind of filling in. We're going to give him some bats early on, see what else he can bring to the team, and then if we find some consistency with the lineup with him in it, we're going to ride that train out. So we're looking forward to having him and giving him some opportunity.
All right, filling out that roster. Love it. us have 2 picks in a row, and James L. Key is the next pick. One of the guys that works with Sam, former coach, cohort with Sam. And Gus, tell us about James L. for us.
James L. he plays adult men's baseball. He was a great middle infielder in his heyday, and has now gone on to coaching the Recruits baseball team, premier baseball team here in St. Louis, and then also coaches baseball and softball at Parkway North with Sam. And James L. is a quiet guy, very tiny, but he is going to be a good addition if he can come out for a couple games, and we just want to see what he can do. And Sam swears he's going to be a really good contact hitter for us in that 4th spot. So we'll see how he goes, and hopefully he makes it out.
Sounds like this is going to be a key pick for the Royals. Next pick for the Royals looks like a guy that goes by the initials of TC.
Yep.
Gus, you want to talk to us about TC?
Tyler Cardwell, he's a good friend of mine. My wife and his wife are our best friends, and our kids are growing up together, and we even coached middle school girls basketball together as well. But I've always wanted to get Tyler out. It's still up in the air if he'll come, but just to get our roster filled out and make it as big as possible for the Royals this year and bring a family mentality in. We're excited to have Tyler finally come out too.
That's great. Family atmosphere down at the Skibbe Family Arena home compound. And looks like the last pick for the night belongs to the Dimebacks. We call this the Mr. Irrelevant pick. No harm, no foul, but to be honest with you, you're pretty irrelevant. Last pick goes to the Dimebacks, which is Brandon Corbin. I don't mean any harm by that, but you guys want to talk about Brandon? I know he's Diamondbacks equipment manager.
Yeah, equipment manager. Moved up in the world.
So he's getting a little bit of promotion here.
He drove down with Farkas. I'm surprised that they both didn't just come this year, but I know Farkas is busy. But
yeah, he's busy doing who knows what. But yeah, he's gonna come. I think he was really kind of taken aback with how much fun everybody had. I think he had fun himself, but now was wanting a bigger role, and Trent's going to give that opportunity to him.
Yeah, I don't think Trent's quite sure how big or small his roster is going to be, because there's a lot of guys on their roster, but a lot of them might not be showing up this year, even some of those Minnesota guys. But I think Brandon, obviously, like Bryan said, wants to get out there again and kind of get some playing time in more than just holding the bats and holding the balls for everybody else on their team.
It's a long weekend. Depth doesn't hurt.
No.
Depth doesn't hurt. So with that concludes the draft. But let's talk about this a little bit. What player? We'll go one by one. Benware, what player drafted not on your team do you think will make the most impact for his team?
I think I'm going to go with Mr. Indiana. From everything I've heard, he's just a great quality person and an even better wiffleball player. And I think he's going to be able to maybe take the Diamondbacks another notch up the rung there, and maybe even take him on his back, and maybe win a game for him.
Yonkman's a popular choice. Is there another player that stands out to you that could possibly impact a squad that he's being drafted to?
There are a lot of intriguing picks. We had the Matt Gallicados and we had the Chris Orbalors, who were so intriguing to their teams last year. And while they didn't win Rookie of the Year, those intriguing picks. And Caleb is definitely one of those people that is obviously going to be the Rookie of the Year favorite. Intriguing picks include, Cameron Smith. Can he transfer from the fast pitch that he usually does to this medium style and take on that ace role, such as an early rookie? And then obviously Corey McCarthy, who's going to get the bulk of the playing time for our Royals, 4th spot. But I'm going to go, I think, with Derek Cornell. I think there's a very interesting dynamic that the Brewers have, adding in another brother to their team. And Derek, who presumably could be one of their better players if it turns out the way they're supposed to, will he find playing time? And will Peter make that hard decision with all those people there? So that could change an entire franchise around right there.
I agree. Interesting thoughts, guys. Bryan, thanks for being here. Gus, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That concludes the 17th annual rookie draft for the SWBL. Thanks, guys, for being here again, and we will see you soon for a podcast date to be untold, but we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, guys.